Ford recently unveiled their new universal EV platform, which will underpin their next generation of affordable EVs, which will start with a new midsize truck, and it looks like Ford has been copying Tesla's homework. Follow along as I compare Ford's new approach to Tesla's Unboxed process. I'm John, and this is Cleanerwatt. Ford has spent the last 3 years quietly working on their new EV platform that they hope will allow them to compete on a global scale with EVs. As I listened to the presentation, it was really obvious where Ford's inspiration came from. Tesla, of course. But honestly, using the term inspiration is really being generous because what Ford unveiled is really a close copy of Tesla's Unboxed process. Now, as a reminder, since it's been a while since Tesla unveiled their Unboxed process, just a quick reminder on what that means. At Tesla's Investor Day event on March 1st, 2023, Tesla's Unboxed manufacturing strategy was introduced, which involved a modular approach to vehicle manufacturing. They described various sub-assemblies of the vehicle being manufactured separately, and then, at the end of the process, of course, they converge for final assembly. With that being said, moving over to Ford's new, or I'm going to call it their borrowed process, while I actually think it's smart for Ford to copy Tesla, what I found amusing was how they pretty much claimed like it was some new original idea that they came up with. Anyone who has been following Tesla somewhat closely over the last several years could easily spot the similarities to what Tesla is doing. For example, Jim Farley said the following: "We tore up the moving assembly line that you see here today, and we came up with a brand new concept, a brand new vehicle, and a better way of making a car after 122 years. So once again, Jim Farley called it a brand new concept, like they came up with the idea. But once again, it's a copy of Tesla's Unboxed process. Something that I also found really amusing, and I think it's smart of Ford to have this approach, but they even implemented Elon's famous "the best part is no part" motto. The executive Doug Field from Ford mentioned, for example, quote, "One of our mantras was simple. It was, the best part is no part." With that being said, though, I do want to point out one thing to be fair, and that's the fact that pretty much most assembly lines, the modern assembly line, is a copy of what Ford invented back in the day when they started manufacturing the Model T. So everyone else copied Ford in the past. It's interesting now that Ford is copying Tesla because Tesla came up with a better way to manufacture. This is something that Elon Musk did point out on X when he wrote, "Ford basically invented mass manufacturing of large, complex products. Everyone else copied." Most people don't know this. Now, when it comes to more details about Ford's new process, they're calling their new line an assembly tree, getting its name from the 3 separate sub-assemblies, the rear, the middle, and the front, that are manufactured in parallel. And then once again, like Tesla's Unboxed process, these 3 sub-assemblies are assembled together at the end of the line. However, there's more similarities than just that because that middle sub-assembly is going to include a structural battery pack. Yes, you heard it right, a structural battery pack, which of course is something that Tesla has pioneered in the automotive industry. This genius design helps speed up manufacturing and eliminates a lot of the obstruction that makes it more difficult to manufacture a vehicle, which adds more time, more cost, and limits the amount of automation that can be used when manufacturing a vehicle. Opening this process up not only allows for more operator density, things like that, but it allows for, once again, more automation, lower cost, and a faster manufacturing process. On Ford's website, they described their design in the following way. The platform's cobalt-free and nickel-free LFP battery pack is a structural sub-assembly that also serves as a vehicle floor. Beyond the structural battery pack, Ford is going to copy Tesla's gigacasting idea as well. I don't know if it's going to be for the front and the rear of the vehicle, but I assume it will be. But Ford is copying this idea. When it comes to gigacastings, Tesla revolutionized the way the front and rear underbody sections of a vehicle are manufactured, replacing hundreds of separate components that had to be welded together with a single-piece front and a single-piece rear structure. This massively simplified the manufacturing process and allowed for a much smaller body shop because, of course, you don't need all the welding and you don't need all those separate pieces to be assembled together because these assemblies are single-piece assemblies. Ford is going to be adopting this same idea, and they're calling it a unicasting. When it comes to the reduction in complexity, Doug Field mentioned, quote, "If you just take a look at the body and compare it to a traditional pickup, 3/4 of the parts are gone. It has 1/4 of the parts. 2/3 of the welds are gone for those of you who run the body shop, and half of the fasteners are gone." Beyond that, Ford is actually taking another page out of Tesla's book, and they are massively simplifying the wiring for this new vehicle platform and for their new EV truck that will be coming out. Now, this is something that Tesla was able to do with the Cybertruck when they came out with their 48-volt system. However, Tesla not only switched over to a 48-volt system, which allows for a smaller gauge of wire, but they also implemented an Ether loop communication network. This network uses gigabit Ethernet to connect high-speed controllers throughout the vehicle. This helps not only simplify the wiring of the Cybertruck, but it also brings it into the 21st century. When it comes to Ford, Doug Field, on the topic of wiring, said, quote, "But we didn't stop with the body. In the electrical system compared to typical Gen 1 electric SUVs, the team removed 4,000 feet of wiring. Over 3/4 of a mile of wiring is gone." On that topic, Bryce Currie said, "And as Doug said, 3/4 of a mile of wiring harness gone. 22 pounds taken out of that." So with this massive reduction, I assume Ford is implementing a very similar process to Tesla. Very likely they're going to switch over to 48 volts and some kind of Ethernet loop system with those hubs or those controllers. And I believe that's what Ford will do because that's what Tesla did. With that being said, though, when it comes to switching over to a 48-volt architecture, you don't have to switch over every component in the vehicle to 48 volts right away. The Cybertruck actually has a little bit of a hybrid system where not every low voltage component in the truck runs off 48 volts. This is something that the Monroe & Associates team pointed out on their website in this article where it was written, quote, "Tesla didn't abandon 12 volt entirely. Instead, they created a hybrid ecosystem that bridges legacy and new systems efficiently. The Cybertruck features bidirectional controllers capable of converting between 12 volt, 16 volt, as seen in the Model S Plaid, and 48 volt. This enables backward compatibility with existing modules while supporting next-gen electronics." With that being said, when it comes to the benefits of Ford's universal system according to what they revealed in the presentation, Bryce Currie said, quote, "The platform is going to allow us to assemble in a way that's 40% quicker." Bryce also said, "We'll have more operator density in there so we can do it in a way that's better for our customers and better for quality." In addition, once again, this open process allows for more automation, and Bryce said on that topic, quote, "This decision will give Louisville Assembly the highest level of automation within all of Ford globally." Now, beyond the benefit to Ford with this process being less expensive, being faster, etc., it also appears like this process is safer for those employees working on the assembly lines. With that being said, I do want to take a moment to talk about the first vehicle that Ford plans to build on this universal EV platform, and that's going to be a midsize truck. Jim Farley mentioned, and I'm especially pleased to announce that the first vehicle off this new platform will be a midsize truck built right here at Louisville and will reach customers in 2027. This seems to be a really smart move for Ford because the truck market is really strong in the US, and I believe there is a lot of demand for a somewhat affordable electric mid-sized truck. If Ford can bring out a lower cost, mid-sized EV truck that has good features, I believe it's going to sell extremely well. Jim Farley added more details. This new truck, based on this universal platform, are going to be more spacious inside than the RAV4, the best-selling car in the United States, but it will have a frunk and it will have a whole pickup truck bed behind it. Jim Farley also made it clear that, like most EVs, this vehicle is going to be fast. It will be faster than our Mustang twin turbo. It will be fully connected with a brand new digital experience no one's seen in our country. It will offer, for the first time, fast charging. It will have amazing range. It can power your house for 6 days. And we're going to start the vehicle at $30,000. So those are a lot of promises right there that sound really exciting. The reality is, of course, going to be slightly different. I believe the vehicle will be really fast, but maybe not the base model. There'll probably be several trim levels, And I'm sure the base model will be a little slower than maybe the fastest model, which would be more expensive. But nonetheless, that's interesting that the vehicle is going to be pretty quick. He also claimed that the vehicle will be able to back up your home for 6 days. Now, that would require a massive battery pack if you were actually backing up the full power needs of the average American home, because I looked that up, and the average American home, as of 2022, so this isn't as of 2025, but as of 2022, the average American home used around 30 kilowatt hours of electricity per day. So if it were the case that he was fully backing up an American home for 6 days, that would be a 180 kilowatt hour battery pack. We know based on comments that he mentioned that it's not going to be anywhere near that. First of all, the truck's going to have a lithium iron phosphate battery pack, which is less energy dense. But second of all, they actually talked about how they were going to reduce the size of the battery pack in this vehicle by 1/3. But when it comes to the topic of the battery being 1/3 smaller, Doug Field mentioned, quote, "On the topic of efficiency, the same obsession with efficiency goes across every part to make it the whole. So we can actually, compared to a typical Generation 1 electric vehicle, we can get the same range with a third less battery. And that's the kind of ingenuity we need to compete with the Chinese. Are we going to compete on labor to make batteries? No, but if we use our brains to have a third smaller battery, we can compete." So I've seen some reports that people think that the battery could be as small as like 50 kilowatt hours. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I believe what they were talking about here is if you compare it to, for example, the Ford F-150 Lightning, their Generation 1 truck design, the battery will be somewhere around 30% smaller than that. That seems to make some sense with the 6 days of battery backup, because on Ford's website they claim that the Ford F-150 Lightning can back up a typical home with full power for up to 3 days. But they also note, quote, "It can last as long as 10 days if you ration that power." So obviously Ford is talking about rationing the power when they talk about backing up your home for 6 days with this new truck. And if you just do a comparison there, that would be a 40% reduction in the battery size of this new truck versus the Ford F-150 Lightning. So if you look at the Ford F-150 Lightning and you go with that larger battery size, which has a usable kilowatt hours of 131, that could make the new battery size of this truck as large as 78.6 kilowatt hours. Now, I personally expect it to be somewhere between 60 and 75, but just reasonably speaking, I don't think the battery of this new truck is going to be 50 kilowatt hours. I don't think it would be a very good truck on the market. For a mid-sized truck to have a battery pack 50 kilowatt hours, I don't care how efficient that truck is, it's just not going to be very practical. But if that battery size is somewhere close to 75 kilowatt hours, that would be an amazing truck that I believe a lot more people would want. And really one of the main limitations could be the lithium iron phosphate battery technology being less energy dense. So they'll have to make sure there's enough room there. But once again, I don't believe the battery size is going to be 50 kilowatt hours. I believe it's going to be closer to 70, 75. At least that's my hope, and that's my interpretation of some of these comments that were made. I also want to quickly address that price, the starting price of $30,000 for this truck. Once again, that's going to be the most base version of the truck at $30,000. And in addition, since Ford uses a dealership model, if history is any indicator, these dealers are going to mark up the cost of this truck at least for a while when it's new and supply is limited. So good luck getting a $30,000 compact Ford EV truck in 2027. You're going to probably pay quite a bit more than that for a while. But nonetheless, I'm happy to see Ford implementing these great ideas, and I hope they have a lot of success. And if this truck is anything like the hype that Ford has built up so far for it, I believe it's going to be an amazing truck for the market. Please let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. And also I'd like to say thank you to all of those of you who support me through Patreon. Your support makes a big difference and does help make these videos possible. If you'd like to find out more about how you can support my work through Patreon, I will put a link in the video description. Thank you so much.